Sabrina Simmons, CFO of The Gap. Joe Jimenez, CEO of Novartis. Margot Alexander ran the trading room at Paine Webber before women ran trading rooms, and more recently, the chair of Acumen Fund. Don Fisher, founder of The Gap. John Woolard, founder of BrightSource Energy. Shantanu Narayan, CEO of Adobe. Paolo Tellini, Intel. Priya Haji, World of Good. Kirsten Toby and Kristen Gruss Richmond, Revolution Foods. Mark Singer runs the sales practice for McKinsey. Jack Russey, head of the Americas for Deloitte. The list could go on and on. What do these people have in common? What do these people have in common? They are all alums. This list is not confined to this group of people. These people, every one of the people on that list, is a master at questioning the status quo. These are people who routinely ask the powerful questions, the way we operationalize question the status quo. Questions like, isn't there a better way to do this? Questions like, what's the white space around this business, and is it time to fill it? What's the white space around my job, and is it time to fill it? These are people who are masters at living with confidence, but without the attitude. These are people that engender trust, a fundamental ingredient for supporting collaboration. These are people who are students always. In many senses, in one very important professional sense, they know, every one of them knows, or knew, that at the top of their career, they still have more to learn. They still have feedback to hear. And in fact, the people who worked with them and for them know that they know that, even at the end of their career. And these are people who think and act beyond themselves. These are people that think about the larger playing field, the role of stewardship that we play in our lives. These are people who have urges they can't contain to build something. These are people that want to build something. These are people that are white space fillers. They're opportunity recognizers. That's really what they're about. They are terrific problem framers. They boil things down to their essence. They know how to go after the right things. It's not symptoms, causes. They are terrific, every one of them, at influence without authority, influence beyond formal authority. That the authority card just isn't the way to get things done in this modern economy when you are surrounded by high potential people. They are terrific at knowing what little bets to place. What little bets to place so that we can learn in an efficient way, so that we can place the big bets that we need to place. There are a lot of big bets and big payoffs we need to realize. So these are people that represent our leadership brand. These innovative entrepreneurial leaders are our leadership brand. And that's one of the things that we all share as well. As we think about how we sharpen the school's narrative, the role that we play in society. This school, the seat that you have entrusted me with as your dean, is one of society's most important assets. What kind of, the potential of the young people that are coming into our programs, outstanding. We and society needs them to lead, and we also have to take a stand on the kind of leadership that we're talking about. So we have exemplar after exemplar. We have a lot to be thankful for. We have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot of pushing ourselves to do to make this even truer. And as I think about the Haas School right now and the kinds of things that we've done to try and push this vision, this point of view, let's have a point of view, shall we? Let's go after it. Nobody is getting admitted to one of our degree programs that doesn't line up with our 4 principles. I don't care what their GMAT is. I don't care what their SAT score is. We're going to go for this. And that's important. So those principles you've been hearing about and reading about, question the status quo, confidence without attitude, etc., they are shot through every sub-process of admissions that we could think of. They are in the letters of recommendation. They are in the interviews. They are in the essays. They are in the information sessions. They're on the website. They're in the way we train the people who do the interviews. We've just introduced interviews for our undergraduate program. Didn't used to do that. Would you be taking your job seriously if you were me, if you were admitting undergrads as best you could to serve society and you weren't interviewing them? Now, we don't want to create an elitist undergraduate program. It's still merit-based. We are not letting people in based on how much they can contribute, which is not an uncommon admission standard around the world. But confidence without attitude matters. Engendering trust and followership matters. Collaboration matters. You want innovation? When you dial this back and you start saying, wow, this leadership brand, so these builders, these people that fill white space, you know, when it comes right down to the essence of it, whether your enterprise is a not-for-profit or a for-profit, it creates value. It sustains itself. It thrives. It gets paid, if you will, by being usefully different, not by being the same. We don't get paid for being the same. We get paid for being usefully different. And over time, the defining question, call it competitive advantage. Here's Strategy 101. First concept, competitive advantage. Where does it come from? I would submit to you it comes from useful differentness, and our enterprises either produce useful differentness a little faster than other players or a little slower than. And if you're slower than, you're not going to survive over time. So this is fundamental. These are not just leaders who are great as individual contributors in putting new ideas into action. They are that. They are great at getting the enterprises around them to be great at putting new ideas into action. That is the motive force. That is what drives this useful differentness. And that's going to matter whether your organization is in the civic sector or in the for-profit sector. So that's what we've been thinking about hard. We've been working very, very hard on this stuff. We've been trying to transform the way we think about the people we bring in and the people we graduate. And taking values, principles seriously is part of that. So what are some of the other more tactical things that we've been doing? For example, we now, you probably don't know this, we have a Berkeley-Haas case series. I can't tell you how many people have told me over the years, why do we keep reading these cases labeled with some other school, okay? Come on. So the Berkeley-Haas case series, there are about 30 cases there. You can get them through a bunch of different distribution channels. One of them happens to be the distribution channel of that other school that markets, but you buy one of those cases and it is Berkeley-Haas on the label. There's no question about it, okay? So that's one element of what we're doing. Here's another one. This place, our institution, the reason we are so excited when we get up in the morning to do the work that we do, where our purpose comes from, you know, part of it is transitions. It's these transitions. So let me give you an example of one of the transitions that is happening in a really fresh way. By transitions, I mean this. You know, there are times in your life where you realize, when I started, something like starting a company, let me use that as an example. Starting a company, they do that. They do that. Those people over there do that. Oh, interesting. They do that. And then on the other side of the experience, I do that, or I can do that. This is available to me. That's a psychological switch that is profoundly valuable. We've launched a new one-week immersion program, and I mean immersion, in our MBA program for executives, where we're using all the value in our alumni network. We're bringing them where they're meeting angel investors, they're meeting the entrepreneurs, they're going to Google, they're seeing the VCs, they're doing all of it. And one full week. And people, no kidding, are coming up to me at the end of the week and saying, that transition you talked about, it just happened for me. And they won't necessarily immediately start a company, but they will, for the rest of their lives, realize that's available to them. Those things are just so valuable to people. Here's one other element that I wanted to mention that we're shifting. Laura Tyson, obviously a very important asset for us. She, in fact, launched our Center for Responsible Business. One of the areas that we're so known for, there are three big areas that we're known for. Yesterday was our Sell event for our new MBAs in the full-time program. Many of them are admitted to MIT, Chicago, Harvard, Stanford, and they're here yesterday. And they have to decide in 2 weeks where to go. So one of the things I started with, I said, we have been known as a school for a long time in three areas. One is technology. If you actually go into the data, go into LinkedIn, we picked 25 top tech firms. We picked a bunch of top titles, CEO, CFO, SVP, and then we just asked the data, what schools did those people at those firms and those jobs go to? You know what school was number one? We were number one by a margin. So we knew we were strong in tech. And of course, tech is inflected with entrepreneurship. It's got the Silicon Valley factor. But tech, social impact is the second one, right? Social impact, corporate social responsibility, nonprofit and public leadership, social entrepreneurship, et cetera. We've been strong in that for a long, long time. And Laura was part of the reason we're strong for that. She launched our Center for Responsible Business, and she just launched a new institute. So these centers, Center for Responsible Business, nonprofit and public leadership, et cetera, these centers have been brought together into an umbrella, an institute. We call it an institute. It's called the Institute for Business and Social Impact, and Laura's running it. That's a good person to have running a program like that. She's an attractor of outside funding, too, which makes me very happy. Look, these are there are many, many things that we've been changing to make sure that we continue to transform our students the way we need to. Oh, the third big thing that we've been known for is our culture, are the values we share. Employers think of us in a certain way. Now, those words that we put to that culture are relatively new, but that culture isn't new. We just codified a culture that's been here forever, right? Here's something, last week, Dave Ocker, many of you remember Dave, right? Our branding, just a towering figure in the world of branding and marketing. Dave gave a talk here last week. And you know what he did? He said, here's the way I think about the Haas brand. And he put it out, it's like, oh boy, what's he going to say, right? And he put our mission statement right there in the center of the slide. We develop leaders who redefine how we do business. And that's the brand essence. And then he said, the core of the brand, he's using the Ocker brand model. He used our defining principles to define the core elements of the brand. Question the status quo, confidence without attitude, beyond yourself, students always. And then he said, this brand gains great energy because it has personality. Oh, that's a great thought. He has confidence without attitude and other things. That's part of why our brand has so much traction out there. And then he said another thing that I just loved. He said, brands also, when they can achieve this, brands also gain great energy when some element of that brand is about higher purpose. And he pointed to beyond yourself and he said, this brand has higher purpose. Now, I'd never seen anybody describe some of the stuff that we've been working hard at the last 5 years quite that way. But I thought, well, I'm glad he's the expert because it's fun to, it is. So these are fundamental elements of what we're doing, all right? What are some of the other things that we're doing? Look, at the end of the day, you want to produce useful, you want to produce competitive advantage. You want to produce that useful differentness that drives competitive advantage over time. Collaboration is a fundamental ingredient. It just is. It is not some smart person sitting alone as an individual contributor at 2 a.m. that is transforming our organizations, our lives, etc. And when we think about collaboration, collaboration space, the space that collaboration happens in is fundamental. So we took a point of view and we said this leadership brand, these innovative, entrepreneurial, even path-bending leaders, we need a physical surrounding that supports that point of view, that vision, if you will. And so our courtyard, our old courtyard was beautiful. We loved it, right? But you and I are sitting in our old courtyard on a concrete berm. You walk up, and now we got 3 people eating lunch in a line, right? That's not great for collaboration. So some of you, I mean, you've seen it. You walk through it at some point. Monday through, certainly through Thursday, Friday things are a little lighter around here, but Monday through Thursday, it is teeming with students. It's a super collider out there. It is a workspace. They're working on their stuff, they're doing their problem sets, all the rest of it. I had an undergraduate come up to me not long ago and said, Rich, I'm about to graduate as a senior. Last year, my junior year as an undergrad, the first year, the undergraduate program is 2 years, as you probably know. He said, I probably talked to 4 MBAs in my junior year. This year, with the new courtyard, I've probably talked to 50. Because they come up to a table I'm at, and can I use it? And then a conversation starts out. Okay, so it's that kind of mixing, right, that you're looking for. So we have collaboration space out here. We've built a new innovation lab up at the Memorial Stadium. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely fantastic. You can visit it on game days, on football game days. It's one of the most fun things happening on football game days up there. It is absolutely terrific. It is absolutely terrific. Okay, a couple of more. That was unfair. Can I? Shoot. And you know, there are no takebacks anymore, right? I mean, it's like, God, it just got tweeted, and I got to go talk to Sandy Barber tomorrow, and Okay, a couple more quick things here, all right? So the new building, the north building that's getting constructed there, think of it not just as a building. Think of it as a remix. It is a remix. One of the things, we did the best we could in 1993, 1994, conceiving of these 3 buildings built in 1995, or opened in 1995, to forecast where management education was going, but we couldn't forecast exactly where it was or would be. And of course now, it reflects the kind of collaboration that defines our workplaces, right? Students work in teams. You need group study space. You need flat, flexible use studio space. You know, when we do a course in new product development, we don't need a tiered classroom and somebody lecturing at people. This is a learning by doing course. You need people getting together, doing a prototype, reconfiguring, redoing the groups. Okay, it's a totally different kind of space. So yes, it's going to add a third to our space, but it's really remixing our space. It's asking, what is the stuff that you would have put in the building 20 years ago if you knew what we know now, but we don't have enough of? And that's part of what we've done there. It's what we did with the courtyard. Think of it as a collaboration space. You see that there are some windows missing in the library over here? Within a few months, there's going to be a direct access from the courtyard into the library. And when you walk into the library, it's going to feel like you're walking into a Pete's Coffee. It's going to be an active workspace. It's like, of course, libraries are used totally differently now than when we built that 20 years ago. Okay? So collaboration is key. And then finally, look, at the end of the day, when people ask me, what problem are you trying to solve, right? What are we managing to? How do you figure out when somebody says, here's investment A and here's investment B, what do you want to do? There is something that I think about always when that question comes up. I believe my job, I believe our job as your senior team is to maximize the long-term reputation of our school. I think that's the problem I'm trying to solve. At the end of the day, of course, we are trying to provide as much value to society as we possibly can. That is, of course, the highest level purpose. That's hard to manage too, though, right? When you say that, provide as much value to society as you possibly can. Now, here's investment A and investment B. Which are you going to choose? Oh, that one isn't giving me enough guidance. But reputation, I can think about that. And when we get reputation right, we win the best faculty, and we win the best staff, and we win the best students. And we are competing in all three of those talent markets all the time against some incredibly good institutions. So, for example, we just had a gargantuan offer for our best finance faculty member. She does behavioral finance. Harvard came after her. Gargantuan offer. I didn't have to match it because she wanted to stay. But historically, often, we couldn't get close enough. Now we have a financial model, thanks a lot to alum help, where we could respond. And a month and a half ago, she said, I'm staying. That was great. A year and a half ago, Lucas Davis, these are tenured senior offers. These are our best people. Lucas Davis, our energy economist, had an offer from Stanford GSB. Big offer. The last few offers, so I've been here since 1993. There were a few since I've been here. We lost all three. Lucas Davis said, we had to respond. Lucas Davis said, I'm staying. Every Stanford faculty member knows that Lucas Davis stayed. And the tape is still running, isn't it? Okay. And how about Janet Yellen? Let's give her a hand of... She doesn't just run the Fed, by the way. She's the most powerful woman in the world. That's what she is. Talk about women's empowerment. We got a good exemplar here from... Okay, look. Things are going very, very well for us. We still have a lot of work to do, right? And society needs us to do a lot of good work. But we are focused. We're going after it. Let me dispel one myth, and then I'll conclude. I'll take a couple of quick questions. Here's a myth that I want to dispel. I have not had the defining principles tattooed on my body. I haven't done that, okay? Somebody was spreading that rumor. That said, I do very often wear t-shirts with the defining principles on them. So I'm not above that. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Welcome back to Berkeley. Thank you. Couple questions, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And I've overshot, I think, on time, but I'd love to take a couple of questions, please, if anybody has one. They are available. Yes, sir. We'll give you a good price, Jeff. Yeah, there's one up here. I could repeat the question, or we could, okay, yeah.
Rich, what are your goals for increasing the size of the program?
Thanks. So goals for increasing the size of the program. The new building will allow us to increase the size of our program. When we opened this building, these three buildings, we had 1,300 students. Today we have 2,200. So that's part of why we are where we are. We sort of have no growth options. I'm a finance person. That's the way I think about where we stand right now. And there's a lot of demand for what we do, right? So the quick answer is we haven't decided exactly how we're going to grow. We could grow our full-time MBA program pretty easily by going from a cohort size of 60 to 70, so that would be 280 in a class rather than 240. That's a very doable thing. It's a likely thing as well. The other growth options, I think, that we're thinking about, and these are just possibilities, but one is we're thinking about the possibility of offering a one-year pre-experience, kind of like a fifth-year undergraduate program, a master's in business or a master's in management. This degree is very successful in Europe, quite successful in Asia, starting to get launched in the US. It fits beautifully between our undergraduate and our full-time program. And you could imagine telling the best students you could possibly attract to a program like that, you come do that 1 year. If you go work for 2 or 3 years, you could come back and in 1 year get your MBA from Haas. So that could be an attractor of talent that we might otherwise lose to other 2-year programs. And then the third big option is digital. There's a bunch of low-quality online ed out there. I agree. I won't say any firm names. I'm not headed to take us in a direction that is going to, well, I just told you what we're trying to maximize. It's reputation. If somebody said there's a bunch of economics over there, but there's a little bit of a reputation slope, I ain't going there, okay? But the high end of digital, it's getting really interesting. So let me just leave it at that. We're trying to think about what would it look like if we had access to the world's part-time MBA students. Our part-time MBA program is the largest of our 6-degree programs. It ranks #1 in its most important ranking, US News, by a margin. Chicago's 2, Northwestern is 3, ours is most selective. Now that's a local pattern of competition by its nature. You need to live or work within 20 miles of the program. Now you go to a digital world, or largely digital, pattern of competition goes global, the addressable market for our #1 program becomes the world. That's a good growth opportunity, right? So there's going to be some disruption, but the flip side of disruption is opportunity, and this one feels like a really big opportunity to me. How about another quick question? Right here, please, ma'am. Great. So the question is about affordability. What are we doing on the affordability issue? How do we think about scholarships and supporting affordability? So at the undergraduate level, our fees are exactly what the rest of the campus fees are. So we charge, unlike most undergraduate business programs, we charge no surplus on top of English or engineering. That said, undergraduate fees at Berkeley are 3 times what they were even 7 or 8 years ago. So they've gone way up. For the graduate fees, they have also gone way up, although our full-time MBA fees were frozen this year, and they'll be frozen next year as well, but they're still at a very, very high level. The quick answer to that is, it is a continuing struggle for higher education to deliver at the very highest quality levels and still provide as much access as we possibly can. So at the undergraduate level, one of the things I think we should all be most proud of as Berkeley alums is that Berkeley, if you are sort of what's called Pell Grant eligible, if you come from a household that is $50,000 or below as an undergraduate, you are, the increase in fees from $4,000 to $12,000 over the last 8 years, none of that affects you. You are effectively fully paid for. What was really getting hit was the middle class. Because once you fall out of that Pell eligible category, you were taking the full brunt of the tripling. And what Chancellor Birgeneau said is, and this was front page of the New York Times, so this is the kind of stuff where the nation said, look what Berkeley is doing around access. And what the chancellor basically said is, that point at which you don't have to pay anything, and so all these escalations are not affecting you, call that $50,000 a year household income for undergrads. We're going to draw a line up to around $150,000. And rather than have this, you don't pay anything and then you pay all of it, we're going to basically sand off that whole sharp peak so that you get a gradated increase in fees, and if your household income is $150,000 or above, you're paying the full brunt. Full brunt is about $12,000 a year for undergrad. So that got huge attention. It cost a lot of money. It was the right move. I think this idea of access and excellence. But my view is, look, we do have to provide access. It's part of Berkeley's mission and identity. At the end of the day, though, part of what makes Berkeley its own category, Berkeley as its own category, is that it competes at the very highest level with a bunch of elite private schools. And if we start dialing down excellence, if somebody tells me, Rich, you can't charge that much in the MBA program, you've got to get those fees down 20%. I have to be honest with you, I will lose Ulrika Malmendier to Harvard. I will lose Lucas Davis to Stanford. So we have to ask ourselves, is there room in public education for the best of the best of the best? And while still providing the kind of access, middle class access program, et cetera, that we all feel is part of our identity. So those are the very difficult trade-offs we're right in the middle of. Is this on the same topic or different topic? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very well put, ma'am. Thank you very much. So just so that everybody else could hear it, and I do have to close on this, because she basically said, look, part of it is, what does financial accessibility mean, right? Whatever the number, at the end of the day, we're sort of asking, well, how financeable is it, right? I mean, if your income is zero when you get out of college and you have $100,000 of debt, you're in trouble. If your income is $150,000 and you have $100,000 in debt, that's a totally different picture. So at the MBA level, the salaries have been going way up. Well, I don't remember the exact number, but I just happened to look at the full-time MBA data, but it's at least as high for the part-time because they're more senior. But the full-time MBA graduates, our median salaries right out of school is like $125 now, and there's some signing bonuses as well. And so, you know, if you came in at 70, 80, 90, maybe 100, I don't know what the median was, right? And you're getting some, $40,000 or $50,000 a year delta, and you leave with 50K in debt. I mean, 50K in debt's a lot of money, but that's a trade that people are still willing to make. But I will close on this. Look, the trends are scary. If the inflation-adjusted price of an MBA program is going up 2 or 3% a year, there will be some point at which people start looking at the ROI on the full-time MBA and saying, I cannot forego 2 years of income and pay those prices, given the job opportunities I have on the other end. And that's part of why we're seeing a really big shift in demand, industry-wide, away from full-time MBA programs and toward part-time and executive MBA programs. And the economics are really driving that. Okay, I better quit. You have a best of the day. Okay, thanks very much. Thanks. Thank you.